10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 121. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, our 121st. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you've been having a great week. Super excited to bring you the stuff that we're talking about today. Today is going to be a part 2 on our metronome exercises, which I hope a lot of you are getting a ton out of. This is one of my favorite things to practice. It's one of those things that doesn't sound super impressive, but really helps a lot. Before we get into the episode, just wanted to remind everybody you can grab all of the PDFs for every single episode we've ever done by heading over to our Patreon page, which you can find at our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com. You go over there, you click on the Patreon link, and it brings you right over. It's only $3 a month to support, hopefully, one of your favorite podcasts and get all kinds of really awesome material in return. Wanted to give a quick shout out to some of the people that signed up this week. So thanks to Andres and Steven. Thank you guys so much for becoming members of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson family. We hope you are enjoying your play-alongs and PDFs and all the stuff that we have over there. All right, let's get into today's episode. So this week is going to be a continuation on our topic of working with the metronome and really deeply working with the metronome. Like I mentioned last week, this is not about just having the metronome on while you're playing. While of course I support that, we should spend some time just working with the metronome and, concentrating all of our mental and physical energy on having the best time possible. And that's what these exercises are all about. So last week were really deceivingly simple exercises. We just took a major scale and we put it in a couple of different rhythmic variations, some that use space, and basically all of them forced us to really just think about the beat going by and think about being exactly on the beat or off the beat while we were playing that stuff. Today's exercises, they get a little bit more complicated. Again, we're just going to stick with a major scale because I feel like that's just a really great place to start when you're practicing some of these exercises. But you can do them on any set of scales that you're working on, any harmonic concepts, any melodic concepts that you happen to be working on at the time. If you want to get a little bit deeper with these and think more about your time, just apply them to whatever you're playing. They even work really well if you just play them on one note. So if you're at a loss for exactly what to apply these rhythms to, just play one note over and over and over again, but applying these rhythms to them. All right, so exercise number 1 on this week's sheet is taking the C major scale and playing it in quarter note triplets. So when's the last time that you sat down with a metronome and just focused on playing quarter note triplets? I would guess that it's probably been a little while. Maybe I'm wrong, but when I was coming up with this sheet, it was like, oh, that's something that I need to work on myself. So, it's something that maybe you don't think about a lot. I'm sure that you play quarter note triplets a lot, but have you ever really sat down and asked yourself, am I playing these really evenly? Am I playing these really in time? And chances are that we haven't thought about that, which is what makes this exercise so perfect. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to spread 3 notes out evenly over 2 beats. And this is much harder than playing an 8th note triplet, which is actually what we're going to do in the next exercise. But we're going to start by just simply playing that C major scale, but doing it in quarter note triplets. Again, you have to do this at every tempo. You have to do it slow, fast, medium. I'm going to do it at kind of a medium tempo for you when I'm demonstrating it. So here's a C major scale, hopefully perfect in time using quarter note triplets. All right, so the next exercise on our sheet for this week is just going to be to simply do the same exact thing but use eighth note triplets. So we're trying to develop that flexibility. If we want to be able to play triplets, we should be able to play all kinds of triplets, right? And if we're going to use these rhythmic devices, we have to make sure that they're really well in time. It's just the way it is. You can get by without it, but if you truly want to be playing at a level that I think we all should want to be playing, and if you're listening to the show, you're definitely trying to get better, you have to focus on this stuff. It's part of the reason why a musician's work never, ever, ever ends at any point in your entire life. You'll always have something to work on. So here are eighth note triplets, and I'm going to slow down the metronome a little bit for this one. Okay, so here's where we get into the hard stuff and kind of the fun stuff, in my opinion. So one thing that we want to be able to do as jazz musicians is rapidly change back and forth between different rhythms, right? I mean, you hear people playing triplets followed by eighth notes, followed by 16th notes. A lot of flexibility involved in a good rhythmic scheme when you're actually playing over tunes. The most interesting solos have the most interesting rhythm in them, and that requires a lot of variety. So that means when we practice, we've got to practice that kind of variety in our structured time so that then when we're playing off the top of our heads, we already have that stuff inundated in our playing a little bit. So exercise number 3 is kind of a hard one. It's going to be an eighth note triplet followed by 2 eighth notes, followed by an eighth note triplet, followed by 2 eighth notes, so on and so forth. And what I've done on this is I've extended it out to a 2-octave scale so that you get more notes to play with. You have more time to actually dial this concept in as you're practicing it over a major scale. If you just do it over a 1-octave major scale, you only really get to do it like 3 times and then you're done. So this is a good one to do in an extended way. And again, you could practice this over just one note if you want. You could practice it over any type of scale, any type of arpeggio, anything you want. But I do suggest maybe doing it on one note first and then switching it to some kind of scale so that you can get used to the way it feels. So here is exercise number 3 on your PDF. So that one starts to get a little bit harder. Again, I'm only doing first takes for you so you can hear how I'm actually having a little bit of trouble on it as well. I think I'm pushing a little bit too hard. So that's something that I need to, spend some time with and really get down the center of that beat. It's not required that you play right in the center of the beat. In fact, I like to play way on the backside of the beat because that's where I naturally hear it. But you should be able to put things right in the center of the beat if you have to. So that should be a skill that you have, and then you can kind of choose how you want your sound to be around that. But I think everybody has to have the ability to play right in the center of the beat. So number 4 is a really, really tricky one because what we're going to do is we're going to play progressively faster and faster groupings. So what we're going to do is we're going to play 2 eighth notes followed by an eighth note triplet. And then we're actually going to jump into 16th notes. Then we're going back to eighth notes, back to an eighth note triplet, back to 16th notes. So that's the progression in this one. And those groupings get, quicker and quicker to play. And also we need to go back and forth between that duplet and that triplet time, which is really complicated. So this one might give you some trouble. This might be an exercise for down the road. If you realize you need a lot of work to do on the metronome, you might want to save this one until you feel really good about just triplets or just duplets. Then you can tackle this one. But anyways, here's what exercise number 4 sounds like. So I've got a ton of work to do on that one. And you could hear that one kind of flips your head around a little bit because you're not sure what's going to happen with it. And that's really tough on your ears and can be really tough on your fingers. But hey, that's the whole point. We want to do things that challenge us. So here's the thing about these 2 episodes is that I know a ton of you aren't going to practice this stuff because it's not the most interesting, immediately gratifying stuff in the world. But I implore you to really, really concentrate on this stuff because it is that tangible thing that's going to make everything really cool that you do play sound about 100 times better because you're actually playing it with really good time. So don't ignore this stuff because it's not some crazy diminished line that I'm showing you. It's just, playing a major scale, but doing it on a really, really, really high level and thinking really hard about what you're doing. Okay, so that's my 2 cents at the end of the episode here. So remember, if you want the PDF to this episode and all the other ones, if you'd like to support the show, we really, really thank you for that. Please head over to the website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, and go over to the Patreon page and pledge your $3 a month for us. We really appreciate everyone that's done that. All right, we will see you next week with some brand new episodes. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.